Welcome back, folks. This is the State House Advisory Committee on the State House. We're looking at our very last draft, we hope, to go over the changes we recommended in our previous meeting here a few hours ago. We are just going to visit the new language, and then we will take a vote on the report, we hope. So Ellen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so the draft watermark has been removed. The first change is on page 3. This is the language we discussed adding to the introduction, a more specific reference to the COVID-19 situation. I inserted it into the middle of the section because it made sense there, but I think I captured what you all discussed.
Okay. Work for folks?
Yep.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, top of page 7. In response to COVID-19, Vermont General Assembly ceased operations within its State House in March 2020.
Good.
Who said what?
So good.
Oh, okay. 85%.
And then added not permanent. So recommendations are intended to be temporary, not permanent solutions. In the second paragraph, the addition of the Secretary of the Senate and the Clerk of the House of Representatives were added to your witness list. Next, at the bottom of page 8, the committee discussed whether to move certain staff and legislative workspaces within the State House or to other buildings within the Capitol complex. When considering additional workspaces, the committee discussed the use of 2 Aiken, 4 Aiken, 133, and 109 State Street.
It's okay. Yes. Okay.
On page 9, after significant deliberation and debate on testimony and multiple proposals, the committee recommends 28 measures to be reviewed and considered by JLMC or the relevant committees.
And that replaced the word implemented.
Implement.
Okay.
Small changes on page 10. Oh, I apologize. So first, what was formerly recommendation number 3 is now recommendation number 1. The language in it has not changed. This is regarding working in the State House should be made later in the year.
Where we organize the bullets.
Right.
Second and third used to be our 1 and 2.
Yes.
So then at the top of page 10.
New recommendation number 3. The first clause of that sentence was struck regarding proof of vaccination. So now it just reads JLMC and relevant rules committee should assess whether masks or other personal measures should be required.
Okay with that, folks? Okay. Let's keep moving.
In numbers 6 and 7, the reference to the well of the house has been changed to use of the house chamber in 3 spots.
Okay. Thank you, John, for that.
Recommendation number 8, added reference to the Sergeant at Arms. So standing committees, joint committees, public hearings should have priority use of legislative spaces through standard scheduling processes administered by the Sergeant at Arms office.
That's okay. Not seeing anything.
And also part of that, onto the top of page 11, the reference to 133 State Street was added when appropriate space in the State House is not available.
So that was Allison's concern, not to limit it to just 109. Then we get into the big reorg of three bullets here.
So the 10th recommendation is sidebars and receptions during the 2022 legislative session should be held in the cafeteria with a limit of 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. That was the prior number 12. Cedar Creek Room should not be used for presentations. The language of that has not changed. And then number 12 reads, those press conferences scheduled through the Sergeant at Arms office should be based on space available within the Capitol complex.
So on 11, 12, and 13, we did not include any language about guidelines. We kept the same language as we had it, only we did some word refining in 12 to say those press conferences and should be based on space available. That's all we did. Okay. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next change is in number 15. This is regarding the funding for renovation. So the Sergeant at Arms should be authorized to spend up to $750,000 from the $2.5 million appropriated to the General Assembly in Act 74 of 2021 to retrofit or fit up the State House. So that was adding the reference recommended by JFO.
Big bill.
Big bill. On page 12, in recommendation number 16, when discussing YouTube, how long proceedings of the floor and committee hearings should retain on the internet. So we struck the word "for" there. And then on page 13, in recommendation 17, which is the IT funding, a sentence is added similar to 15. The funds will come out of the 2.5 million appropriated to the legislature in Act 74 of 2021.
Can I just ask, this is not a substantive question, but the $2.5 million, that's just money that in the big bill goes for State House operations? Just wondering what that is. I mean, not a big deal, I'm just curious.
It goes towards, it's part of the CARES money.
Right,
It has to be expended by the end of this year for COVID-related issues within the State House for renovations, construction,
okay,
for General Assembly use. That's money from the CARES Act, not ARPA,
okay, I was just curious, thanks.
with the intent to be used like upgrades that might need to be done at 2 Aiken, or
Right.
we're thinking maybe there'd be some actual construction in the State House, so that money would be used for that.
Okay.
Okay. Next.
Okay. Then on page 14, in number 23, Director of Legislative Operations and Supervisor of Committee Services should remain in the State House, but should be moved to a different location. Two options to relocate. The preferred space is in a new temporary space to be constructed with temporary walls, and an alternative on the message.
So we're clear that they remain in the State House, but it could be in a different location than where they are now. Clear that they remain in the State House, they don't get moved out of the State House. But it'd be a different location than where they're located right now.
In number 24, the reference to the single occupancy bathroom has been struck.
The courtroom is available for legislators and the public. And we're silent on the single-use bathroom, knowing that's going to take more discussion. Okay.
And then on page 15, 27, in the portable air purifiers, review use of portable air purifiers in the legislative committee rooms and other spaces used by legislators and staff. And then finally, 28 was reworded to read, future expansion of the State House is needed to meet the needs of the General Assembly. It's a half page shorter than it was.
How much? A half page?
Half page.
Well, that's good.
All of the footnotes relating to the votes have been removed. That also, that's one of the reasons the space changed.
Allison? Allison?
Yeah,
I have a
okay.
question. Oh,
I thought we were,
Hang on, Janet.
I thought we were striking 24, but actually we just changed the language in 24. Got it.
On 24,
Yeah, because originally we talked about striking it. Got it.
we struck the single-use bathroom.
Right. Got it. Got it. Got it. Yep. Thanks.
Janet? Ansel?
Just noting the very last sentence in the report talks about implement again. I wonder if we want to change that to review and consider.
Yeah, good.
Oh, yes.
It does say offers.
But it tracks the very beginning where we made that change.
Yeah. Good catch, Janet.
Where did we make that change?
Under review and considered.
Yeah. Page 9, number 2. It tracks based on the testimony and debate. The committee offers 28 recommended
Measures.
measures, which we have, recommends 28 measures to be reviewed and considered by JLMC or the relevant committee on rules.
I agree with,
Offers 20 to be reviewed and considered prior to.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
The challenge is that some of these recommendations require immediate action in terms of once JLMC meets and either adopts them or not, it depending on the things. I mean, some require construction, some require work. So it, I guess that's incorporated in prior to. We just want, some of them, we hope they move on pretty quickly.
Where are you, Allison? Are you?
No, I'm just at the last sentence, which is, we want to have them review and consider them, but we
Very
want
last
them
page.
to act on them. Actually, some of them require action in order for them to be accomplished by the, we might add something like, and take the necessary actions to accomplish, to realize these, recommendations.
And to take necessary action in a timely manner.
And that's where you
Timely
might use
manner prior.
to implement the changes that they're going to take these recommendations, but they need to make a decision to act and have the construction to, if we decide to do the card room, the coat room, the bathroom, all those are going to need to be being worked on pretty right away.
Can I, John, I think it's okay as
Yeah,
it is. There's a lot in there in the way, there's a lot of implement in that paragraph, but I think I just leave it.
Leave it as implement? Is that what you're saying?
I'm listening to Allison. It's not worth the discussion. I just keep it as it is.
Yeah, because then that gives you the opportunity to act. I mean, anyway.
Stephen Fry?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Yeah, you've got to come out.
Hi, Stephen Fry, BGS Planning. My only comment for this is, it seems like an interesting idea that could be accomplished with an asterisk where you, or something where you say, such and such number 1, 5, 7, 10 are more of a higher priority requiring more immediate action or something like that. Or review, or I was just thinking that it might be a way to kind of clarify some priorities from the many recommendations.
I mean, in terms of being able to accomplish them by January, but from BGS's point of view,
Yeah, it just.
Yeah.
The ones that are for time sensitive. Might sort of be accentuating in some clever way that I don't have necessarily.
Maybe just calling it out in the cover letter that a number of these items are time sensitive and.
to accomplish them
Yeah,
by
yeah,
Jan.
That's probably way simpler.
Yeah,
And then you can say, oh, let's talk about it in committee and these other groups.
right.
Say, what are those priorities? Okay, I'm done now. Thank you.
Well, the question is, do we want to do that, or do we just want to keep, based on this testimony debate, we recommend measures to implement prior to and during? Janet Ansel was reneged on saying be reviewed and considered. If we, the asterisks, I kind of have a concern about that because I think it's going to open up the door for us to talk for the next half hour, trying to figure out what are the priorities.
Just a half hour.
Yeah, maybe an hour.
It's presented to the JLMC committee. You'll be there, Madam Chair, that you could reiterate.
Plan what's important.
Yeah,
The ones for immediate, that need construction.
Or if you really wanted to not do the word implement, you could say 28 recommended measures to be acted, to be reviewed and acted upon
Right.
prior to.
I think that's better.
I was thinking on page 9, but to that, I don't know that that first sentence gives us any sense of urgency to some of these recommendations that we're making here for, as Allison said, for anything that needs construction. It just says we're just asking them to review and consider. And I'm just wondering, say something,
Be reviewed and acted upon.
Yeah.
non-technical term, let's get moving.
Yeah.
A number of these items may require immediate action.
Just wondering if that would be, I just think that's, I think that's a great statement, review and consider, but I think we need to go one step further and act it on.
Well, you could say all three of them, reviewed, considered, and acted upon.
Yeah.
Whatever, because they're going to have to, JLMC is going to have to make some swift decisions to get these things accomplished in the time frame we have.
So what if on page 9, number 2, where highlighted reviewed and considered, what if we say that the 28 measures be reviewed, considered, and acted upon? And then leave on page 16 the word implemented in that last sentence. People thinking on that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Does that work for folks?
yes. I mean, part of the use of the $750,000 has to be used by December. So if we don't do that, I think we'll just have to make that really clear to JLMC, and they know that anyway.
But it's always worth underscoring.
Yeah, understood.
Is that the only amendment to this draft?
Let's see.
John?
I think there was missed. Number 8, second.
Louder.
Number 8, second sentence, specialty and issue caucus should meet in, it still says should consider meeting in. Should say,
Should meet.
should meet in.
All right.
Yep.
We have 2 amendments to this. Second one is on page 10, the last line. Number 8 should read specialty and issue caucuses should meet in 109 or 133. Okay. We have 2 amendments. So whoever makes the motion needs to move that we accept report of our committee. Is there a draft number on this at all?
So at the very bottom,
5,
it's V5, so this would be V6.
Okay, but we vote on V5 as amended.
So moved.
Yeah. You're looking for a
John?
motion.
John Bartholomew has moved that we accept this report. We support the report.
With 2 amendments. Right.
As amended.
We support the report draft B5 as amended with further proposal amendments. And that would be, what we amended would be page 9. 28 measures would be reviewed, considered, and acted upon.
Acted on, acted upon,
Yeah.
acted on by General C.
Yes. And then at the bottom of page 10, 8, the last sentence, specialty issue caucuses should meet in 109 and 133. Is there any further discussion? Does the motion need a second?
I'll second it.
Second. So,
We don't second.
and then Allison seconded. Okay. So I'm gonna let Senator Benning, he's in the other room, show him these changes. And then I'll come back, I'll get his vote first, because I know he's tied up, and then we'll come back and call the roll. Does that work for folks?
And he might even be able to take a minute out.
Right, yeah.
Janet Ansel, I like your fuzzy background that you make possible. It's really beautiful. It pops you out in a really nice way. I don't know how you figured out how to do that, but it's really nice.
It just said blur background and I hit it.
Yeah,
Can you do that? I mean, we can just do that on Zoom? Yeah.
If it says blur background on your thing, sure. Yeah.
And is that, you have to do it every meeting or can you
Nope.
set it and it's always that way?
make it your
It's
standard.
always that way.
Oh, nice. Because it doesn't do any of the shadow or any of the silk stuff when you have a fake background.
Right. Yeah. I don't like the fake ones. So.
No, it's very cinematic. I like it.
There is a
Thank
split
you.
delay.
Oh, there is a
We're on
delay.
it.
When you first go on, there's just like a split second where before it blurs.
Oh, interesting. So then we see her background in sharp focus and then it goes blurred.
What happens? Oh, if I,
It's like a split second delay.
Oh, Mike is saying that there's a split second delay at the beginning. Very clever.
Joe is done, so he's here.
Woohoo!
So I showed Joe the changes that we came up with, amended versions, and the motion was that we accept draft 5 as amended. So it's been moved and seconded. Support the report. It's amended. Is there any further discussion before we call the roll? If not, David, please call the roll, and the chair goes last.
Senator Benning,
Yes.
Senator Clarkson,
Yes.
Senator Polina,
Yes.
Senator Hardy, absent. Representative Ansel,
yes.
Representative Bartholomew,
Yes.
Representative Shaw,
Yes.
Janet Miller,
Yes.
John Dunville,
Yes.
Jennifer Fitch, absent, Karen Middleman, absent, Steve Perkins, absent, Representative Emmons.
Yes.
Coming up with a
901. 904. Oh, right.
13 of us.
904.
Correct.
Who's absent is Senator Hardy, Jennifer Fitch, Karen Middleman, and Steve Perkins.
Got it.
Phew.
Well done, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for zooming in.
So
Thank you, folks, Joe and John.
I just want to take a moment to say to the YouTube world out there and to all legislators who may be listening, I don't think any of us really appreciate the amount of work that the chair has done in putting all of this together, and I wanted to make sure that that was noted for the record. We, as a committee, have been doing a lot of work and had a lot of conversations behind the scenes, but all that we have done collectively pales in comparison to what the chair has been doing to try to engineer this through. For that, I'd like to thank her.
Here, here.
Thank you. The chair is only as good as the committee, so thank you. John and then Allison.
I'm just curious about upcoming work that we still have to do, when we might anticipate for having to meet again.
Yeah, I want to get there.
Okay.
Okay, Allison, was that the same thing? So our next job, our next role is really to look at the longer term needs of the State House and the work of the General Assembly and the staff and people who support us. There is no deadline, I believe, on when that has to be done. But I know in terms of legislative work and the capital budgeting, it would be very helpful, at least if there was some direction by January on this, so that the budgeting process could occur, or at least some of the first steps of the budgeting process and planning and working with BGS and knowing what our thinking is. I would say we need a break from each other. We need a break from traveling back and forth to Montpelier. I would suggest probably we start looking at the later part of September. And figure out, do we meet every other week? Do we meet 3 weeks, every 3 weeks? It's gonna take a little bit more than one meeting a month. And once you get into November, you really can't meet much after the 18th or 20th of November because of Thanksgiving. And then once you get into December, you really can't meet much after the 20th. And then we start the session. So I'm open to suggestions, but we got a lot of work to do on that one.
I'd suggest we do a doodle poll, and I think meeting twice, I think it would be really incumbent on us to be clear on what are the steps that are required to go through that process, when we need to have an amount for the next stage of financing, planning and initial planning, preliminary planning, when we have that, and
Allison, hang on.
and work backwards.
Before we lose Michael,
Thank you, Michael and
Ellen,
Ellen.
I want to thank you both.
Thank you both. Well done.
Really appreciate the work that you've done.
So all I would say, it would be great to do a doodle poll about our availability. And if we, depending on what we want to try and accomplish before session starts, because we all kind of turn into
Pumpkins.
that it would be great to get as much work done this fall as possible. And so that we have an amount that we're talking about in the budget fairly early on, so that we get embedded early on.
I'm open to suggestions. You want to try the middle of September?
And what days, and let's do a doodle poll. I think,
But it would be helpful for a doodle poll to at least have some thoughts of,
sure, I can, what days are best for people? Because you guys, a lot of people have standing committees that meet on a pretty regular basis.
But Tuesdays at 1.
I'd like to meet at 10 in the morning.
So maybe if we started the week of the 20th, I think there's a conference actually with Mitzi somewhere that week, but we could maybe start either Tuesday, the 28th or Tuesday, the 21st, or
I would suggest,
because I'd love to get you those dates of the legislative conference that is. Anyway,
how about Tuesday, the 21st? Can we, no? Yes?
No, yes, I think we should start earlier than later in the month.
Yeah, I do too. I think 10 o'clock in the morning and work till 3. If
ooh,
we start at 1, you weren't gonna be here till 5 or 6.
you're talking about an all-day meeting?
House members do that.
No, I'm just thinking about people's day. Oh, okay.
We don't know why.
We have some study committees. We meet from 10 to 3.
Oh,
The ones I've been on. Butch, is that true for you?
What's that again?
Summer study committees, don't we usually meet
Oh, yeah.
10 to 3?
Sometimes 9.
At least initially to see where
Yeah,
we stand,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Tuesday, the 21st.
Tuesday, the 21st from 10 to 3?
Yeah.
Stephen, I think you're still with us.
Could,
Anna Ansel, does that work for you, the 21st?
It does. If I have a slight preference for doing either all afternoon or all morning rather than the middle of the day.
Yes.
But,
I would agree.
Well, our track record is starting at 1, we're here till 5 or 6.
yeah, but it's the same number of hours as 10 to 3.
What do folks want to do?
I think I would join Alice and Janet and is, so your whole day isn't taken up with just either the morning or the afternoon.
I don't have a preference.
Hmm?
I don't care.
You don't care, you're local.
That's fine.
You gotta travel, that's the thing. 1 to 5, 4 hours is,
2, 3, 4. Yeah,
You know,
you got,
it's nice to take a break for lunch.
it is. It really is. You get 5 hours in at least.
so is it worth doing a doodle poll on that for everybody? Because we have 4 members who aren't here. And I know, and maybe on the day, Tuesdays or Wednesdays, or are Tuesdays the best day for people? What?
Tuesday is the best day for me. My real job requires me.
So why don't we do a doodle poll for
Yeah, and the time we could be,
say the 21st from 10 to 3 or 1 to 5:30? Because we're gonna go late.
or 1 to 5 and
We've already been down that road.
2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 hours. So that's a lot of time. Is that not enough time?
Not for health.
11, 12, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
We do 4 hours.
I know, I've been in the house. It's not like this is strange.
we'll send out, Mike will send out a doodle poll, 10 to 3.
10 to 3 or 1 to 5:30.
You want me to just do it on the 21st, or do you want me to include other days?
Just do the 21st for now and see what we get. Let's not get it more complicated. Anything else? And we'll work, some of us will work and figure out the agenda in the next steps. Hopefully by that point, joint legislative management committee will have made some decisions as well as joint rules.
And when are they meeting for you to present?
It's still being tried to be figured out. I think the hope is sometime next week, because they know that they have some important issues besides this that they have to make some decisions on, but I haven't heard anything. Have you or Janet, have you heard anything?
Nope.
I know I told leadership I cannot do next Wednesday. That's pretty
Good.
I can't do next Wednesday. So if it's not next week, it will definitely be the week after. What we'll do, we can have Mike Ferrant send you out an email to let you know. And I would suggest if anyone, we do have Joe and we do have Janet Ansel on the Joint Legislative Management Committee, which will be there also helping me with a report. But if anyone wants to also be present to back up the presentation, I would welcome that.
Just let us know when it is. and We'll see if we can help you.
That's the operative word. Help me.
Happy to help you.
Anything else before we finish up and go home? So again, I want to thank all of you. We did do a heavy lift, took a lot of work coming up here every week since June. I think we have a good product and I think it's a good starting point for the management committee and joint rules to really have some discussions. We did a lot of legwork. We may have felt we were spinning around in circles, which we were at points. But I think we did some pretty solid work and we can back up our work pretty well.
Thank you.
So with that,